what somebody said.
Do you have a house on a Moleskin tire?
Do you have moleskin tires?
No.
What'd you say?
Do you have a house on the Moleskin tire?
Do I have a house on the mole of Kintyre?
Kintyre.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, well, see, Paul McCartney has a house on the mole of Kintyre.
You get this stuff.
Is he staying at the off center thing like
lives
that? Because I heard some things about the ventilation system there that could.
Oh no, we just got the cooling system working, so we can turn it on and off.
So here we are again. So you didn't know I had those feelings.
Get
about
your
what you
hands
said.
off my leg.
Come on, Jim. You know, it's okay. That's what you live in the desert for, buddy.
See, this is
You know,
the
so you
kind of
can be-
sensitive. Mike and I we're sensitive heterosexuals. We love women, but we can still tell each
Yeah,
other
but-
we love each other.
Yeah, see, that's the difference. You can look at anything and say you love it.
We're secure within our gender, right, Mike? That's
You
what.
bet.
Uh,
At least.
At least within our gender.
Yeah,
How are
at least.
you?
Yes, at least. At least.
So give me some dirt on Moab. I want to hear about the dirt, not the red rocks. And
We told you
Dirt.
about Tom Stocks's teeth. What else is there?
Yeah. There's.
you know Tex McClatchy?
Was he the river guy?
Yeah.
Tex, the guy that had the riverboat or something like that? Yeah, well, I've chatted with him a couple of times, but that's kind of a lengthy process.
Well, it's sort of a one-sided conversation.
Yeah.
And if it's a one-sided conversation with this guy, you know
Yeah.
who has the gift of gab.
Yeah. You know, like I told him, there can only be one smartest man in the world.
And that's Jim.
There's. What kind of dirt do you want? Do you want like the drug?
That was pretty good dirt right there, I think. No,
Sex,
that's what I'm
drugs,
looking for.
rock and roll. You know.
Let's start with drugs.
They're pretty bad here. I wouldn't suggest buying too many of them. There's a lot of amphetamines here, and what have you. And I've noticed it seems to be the favorite of people who like to cook. I think.
I'm looking.
You know, I've never been to any culinary thing and like that, but they must have like Crank 101 and what have you, and because they seem, a lot of people that cook seem to be better at doing narcotics and drinking than they do actually cooking, and certainly better at that than attendance and what have you. There's a very big, which was very much a surprise to me. As a matter of fact, when I first came to town and I was driving around with a real estate guy, there was, now see, when I came here and drove into this town and went to see, I was in a city my whole life, like New York City, San Diego, Hollywood, you know, something like that. And like, I kind of figured just kind of moved here and Andy was the sheriff and Aunt Bee brought you pie and welcomed you to town and that's how I thought it would be. And that was kind of amplified when I met Jim. But
Well, it is like that. Don't you read the police blotter every week?
yeah,
Nothing bad ever happens.
yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, you really, that it's actually a scam. Because, I mean, and especially at the time when I moved here, because, you know, that was right at the beginning of the boom, and although now I would say there's enough people coming in, bringing in money and what have you, there's more than they could ever hope or want for. It's gotten to the point where it's a little out of control. But when I came here, they were still blossoming a little bit more, and there weren't all these chains and stuff like that, and they were looking for people like me, you know, the quiet.
Are you talking about drugs still, or are you talking
No,
about...
I'm talking about, it's a big picture thing, Jim. God, can't you follow this?
No.
Good, though. So there'll be a prize for anyone who can. So you come here and you think it's going to be like, you know, like you got this little red school that your kid's going to go to, and what have you, and you know, everything's going to be beautiful. And then I'm traveling around with this real estate guy, and he keeps wanting to show us this house, and we drive by there, and he goes, well, we can't look at that today. And finally, like the third day, I said, He says, well, what the hell's going on in that house? I mean, I might want to go in there for other reasons other than to look at the house, if there's something that good that they have to keep it sealed off. And what it was is this woman's son, who was like early 20s, had this tremendous drug problem, and he kept on knocking holes in the wall, and they couldn't fix the wall faster than this guy was knocking holes in the wall. So, and I sat there and I said, you mean they have drugs here? And he's, yeah. And then come to find out, they sell LSD and stuff at the high school and what have you. So, I mean, it's just coming from a city and looking at this little place and what have you. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't even imagine that there was a problem there.
We're a microcosm of the world.
Yeah, pretty much so. Pretty much so to a certain degree. I think there's some things that might be missing. We're not exactly.
We don't have everything that you can find on Times Square, but we're working on it.
What are you talking about, hookers or? No, I mean, there's.
Are there hookers in Moab?
I don't know. And the only time I look is usually about, 5 minutes after the bars close. Do a quick cruise of the boulevard and see if I got any chance there. Obviously it didn't work at the bar. Yeah, but you can't shop here. There's no tennis shoes.
That's true. You can buy T-shirts, but you can't buy underwear.
Yeah.
There's not a place in this town to buy underwear or socks, is there? Maybe socks.
I don't know. I
but
always
you can't
have to
buy
have mine
boxer shorts.
specially made anyway.
You cannot buy boxer shorts. You can't buy a regular pair of shoes.
Right.
But you can get Southwest jewelry, and you can get T-shirts, and like a lot of fast food, and tacos, of course.
You can't. Yeah, that's one of the I mean, I've never seen, and I guess 5,000 people, I mean, certainly wouldn't support any kind of big department store or anything like that, but you'd think that perhaps somebody might, open up something that might have a couple pairs of tennis shoes.
Let's see, 20 years ago we did. There were two stores in town, Family Budget Clothing, which was owned by your buddy Ray Tibbetts, and then Miller's Clothing. And they had, it was like a regular small department store where you could get clothes, regular clothes. And they've been out of business for, 10 years now. So now it's a big trip to go to the Mason Mall in Grand Junction to buy clothes or buy those necessities of life.
Right.
And so that I think one of the problems too that you have with a lot of people that move here is the fact that they kind of act like they're moving to Aspen, and like because Moab's kind of it's getting to be somewhat hep, to a certain extent. I mean, it's not like the ski areas and what have you, but there's enough noise being made about it. It's in the New York Times and the LA Times and what have you, and then there's this select little group of yuppie vermin that are kind of infiltrating and what have you, and they seem to come here with this yes, I moved to Moab, or bought a little piece of property on the river or something like that, and then you have some.
Like low-rent Aspenites.
Yeah, but see, that's the
People
whole
that
thing.
couldn't make it in Aspen, or couldn't even make it in Telluride, but they can make it in Moab.
Yeah, but see, they want the same, the same hep things, and they want the boutiques, and they want this and that, and then, oh God, I can't get my French toothpaste and what have you here, and so that's a problem. I think the people that come here have to realize that like it's kind of like bargain basement things, and it's chancy, it's risky. It's not like moving into an Aspen that's all established, and all the yuppie supplies are all there, up and down the boulevard, and all the conveniences are there, and everything you need there. So, there's a lot of kind of distraught yuppie folk here that are trying to, make things a little bit different, so they
If you don't.
maybe a yuppie warehouse or something.
Yeah.
Which is why we support the idea of trashy yards and trailers and junk cars and washing machines.
Yeah, as long as they're not next door.
As long as it's really junky, it'll keep the town from being overrun.
Yeah, just as long as it's not next door, I support it.
You didn't grow like that. See what I'm doing? While you're talking, I'm making these holes.
What do you mean? Well, you're talking to
No,
Jim.
no,
Oh, come on. You've got something to say. Jim's got something to say.
Mystery said to say hi. I want to see him this morning.
Miss, did you talk to Mister on film? And I was
Mike was once a black man.
yes. I once
Like a duck?
confronted Mystery for a little libation. I was kind of, I needed something to change my attitude and what have you, and I asked him one day if he just happened to have anything, maybe could sway my persona, and I said, he said, Mystery, I said, you got a joint or something? He says, no, he said, I got hash oil. And I says, hash oil? He goes, yeah. And I looked at him and I says, God, do they still make hash oil? He goes, I don't know if they still make it, but I got some. Mystery's I think he's one of the only guys in town. Well, he's certainly one of the only black people in town, but he's probably one of the only people in town that could go up to just about anybody in town and borrow $10, providing he doesn't own $10, and depending on their attitude. Now me, I'll always go for it, Now I know I haven't paid you the 10, but I got the thing going on with my old lady, and like you just give him the $10, and he also makes incense and what have you, which I've never been particularly fond of, but according to the people that I've given it to, it's been pretty good incense. So yeah. Mystery's kind, and that's another. The people in this town, do you know how many people don't talk to Mystery? Just look at him and like he's some piece of garbage or something like that. He's one of the funniest people, and he's also he's really pretty radical. I mean, he comes from the San Francisco, Oakland area and what have you, and he's got some. He's got some very definite things about racism and what have you. It's a little hard for him to organize and make a movement to change some of the things. But he's been discriminated against here and what have you, and some of the rednecks and what have you. But he's still therein lies the proof of the little utopia. I mean, he told me one day we were sitting at the Rio. I was buying him beer. And he said, Mike, when I came here, he said I didn't even have a pair of shoes, and he said now I got 10 pairs of shoes, a bicycle, and a house. And I mean he owns a trailer and what have you, and so I mean here it is, and I guess this would be an open invitation for all Rastafarians to come.
Well, we need that.
To come.
This town is white enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think
come
if we
here,
if we see one more white guy in this town, we're going to throw
to come here with no shoes, to come, bring us your weak and your wicked, and what else does it say underneath that?
That's
Statue of Liberty.
Your huddled, your masses, your yearning to be free.
And all your Rastafarians, and within a period of 4 years, you can achieve trailerism, and
Yeah, this is great. We welcome all people of color to Moab. There are just too
Yeah.
damn many white people in this town.
I welcome the women.
It's kind of, it is very white here.
Oh, God.
Too
And
white.
which,
If you see a black person walking down the street, you get excited. You just, wow, there's a black
Oh,
person. This is
awesome.
really great.
Afro-American dude.
I don't know if excited's the,
Well, I get it.
it is, and it's funny because you do actually do a double take. And I mean, there's people that come in, some blacks that come in here that mountain bike and what have you, and it really, I mean, it's such a lily white affair here, and when it kind of does. It creates some kind of reaction. I don't know what kind of reaction it is. It's like, oh wow, look what came.
Well, but for people who've always lived here, who've never ever experienced any kind of a multicultural lifestyle, they literally, or some of them just kind of fall apart at the seams when they have to actually confront someone of a different color. I had a friend who was black who stopped at the Monticello liquor store a few years ago, and went in, and the woman became so just totally confused and upset.
Disoriented.
He gave her a check. He gave her a $20 bill, and she started giving change for $100. Not even paying any. Just here, take the money, please go before you kill me or something like that. But it's just the reaction that a lot of these people have because they've never been out of this county or out of their their little niches in their lives.
That is one of the weird things too, because I have talked to a lot of people that have never they've been to Utah, and like that's kind of, and I mean like I'm here now, and I haven't left Grant County in 2 years. Like it's just like this is where I hang out. And I don't go anywhere and what have you. But
Is that true? You left 2 years.
You haven't been to GJ in 2 years? Haven't been anywhere? Oh,
Haven't been anywhere. Haven't had any desire to go anywhere. What have you? Every once in a while, somebody goes over to Grand Junction. I tell them to pick me up a pair of tennis shoes and what have you. And I'm a county line guy. I go to the post office, home, and over to Jim's, of course. He always likes to have me over for like dinner and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure you like to talk about funny foodies.
What's this do? What's this?
What are you doing here anyway?
Isn't that Tuvalu?
What are you doing here?
Fun food Tuvalu. I think it is. I'm going to put our map up. Now,
Does he live in this town, or
I
is
don't
he
know.
visiting? Do you live here?
yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Wow. Well, I guess my luck's not that bad. It was like 4 years before I had to meet him. You know?
It's an honor to have him.
That's not bad. Once in 4 years, you have exposure to him.
Movies. Everybody's talking about movies. I'm starting film school in Moab. So movies.
That's what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm working with the colleges that already started.
A film school.
A film school. I'm working on it.
Great.
We got it so far. We're doing good.
So what does that mean? Aspiring directors and
You know, that
what
means
kind?
we're training
Yeah, we're gonna get
people
one
about
of casting out here.
filmmakers to people that work for film companies.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm like,
Mike's still
for
playing
instance,
Bill Murray.
yeah, we're like that. He's already sent me a Christmas card. That's like AFI kind of. That, of course, that's more writing.
This is making.
Okay, this is a production thing, and
Production.
okay. Films are good. Films are bad. You know, it depends on when they come. Depends on how many of them come. Depends on whether they like Mexican food or not. Mostly.
And actually pay for their Zephyrs.
What?
Nobody pays for their Zephyrs. You don't have to worry about
I do.
that. You do not.
You bet. Do you think that I would reach down into that? I look at those racks as an altar.
God.
You know,
Or the things you'll say on
as an
film.
altar, Jim. And I genuflect and do the sign of the Stiles and put my 75 cents.
What
in.
is the sign of the Stiles? I'm just curious. How does it go?
If there truly was one, I would say it would probably have to do with scratching, more of a scratching gesture. In several different places I can think of.
So go on, talk about film.
Okay, film, to me, film is it's probably always good for the economy and what have you, because they do come in here and they buy all this wood to build their sets that they're going to tear down and what have you. They also pay some very good money to the people that go out there and help them, the construction people and the little people that stand there while they focus their cameras and all that other stuff. It's an opportunity for local people to make like a decent dollar in a short period of time so they can go back to their evil ways. The negative aspects are sometimes, like for instance, when Geronimo was here, they came like in the spring, started coming in May. It was a very large production. They tied up like 300 rooms. They weren't buying things in the shops. They weren't really going into the restaurants a lot and what have you. There was a couple of, like, the bar did good, a couple of high-end restaurants did good, and what have you. And pretty much because they tied up the hotel rooms, and also got blasted up in like on the Salt Lake News and what have you, that there are no rooms in Moab. The movies tied everything up and what have you. So it cut back on the availability of suckers, so to speak, so that was something that was a little bit negative, and Also the, you know, and it depends on the production company. Some of them are a little bit on the demanding side and what have you, which isn't that big of a problem, but you know, sometimes it can be, especially if you get involved.
You've catered for.
Tell them about the eggs.
Oh, tell me about the eggs.
Eggs?
Tell me about the eggs.
I've tell me how to talk, to speak. Which part about the eggs? Just the
No,
just,
Bill Murray was eating the eggs.
oh, just the in general?
You had to make
Okay,
it
the
dozen
egg
eggs.
story.
The
You're
egg
talking
story.
the
The Bill Murray
specific
egg story.
the specific egg story. Okay, the specific egg story was as follows. They had asked me to, actually they had bribed me to, they were doing a Mexican fiesta scene in this Mexican village that they built this setup by the river, and their thing was that they needed Mexican food, and they were going to have this big fiesta and what have you, which basically turned out, they ordered food for about 60 or 70 people. They needed probably food for about 5.
Mike
And-
charged them through up the wazoo. Right, Mike?
Yeah. Well,
That's what you do with them.
yeah, well, they came in, now see, this is a prime example of movie folk. They came in at 4 o'clock one afternoon, and they said, some people said you could probably help us. And I said, well, what do you need? And they said, well, we're the movie, and we're doing a fiesta scene, and we need Mexican food, and this and that, and what have you. And I said, yeah, well, when do you need it? And they said, well, tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And I said, 7 o'clock, like in the morning? No, 7 o'clock at night. Then I mean, no, reverse that. They needed it at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's not 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I looked at the guy and I said, well, how long have you known about this? And he goes, months. And I said, so you come in at like at 4 o'clock, and you know, want somebody there at 7. And the guy says, hello. Lex, I don't know where that guy is.
So I found out.
Yeah.
We don't know where he's at.
Yeah, well, I know where he is, but I don't know what he's
I don't want
doing.
to know where he's at.
Sure, Candace, want to be on film?
You want to be
No,
on, you want to be
I've
on
already
Come on,
done that. I've
come
done it
on.
so many times.
What?
I don't want to.
Come on, shake it a little bit for us, baby. Is this me? Yeah, thank you. I like that.
It's like squeezing melons, huh?
No,
Is,
bad boy.
so what do you think? Wash, slice, and salt?
That's it. That's all I need to do.
Okay.
I'll come back this evening.
I'll know about Chef Huff soup.
Hey, do you know about a tomato that's a natural sedative?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, what do you mean? Like, I don't
Somebody
know.
told me there's this tomato that's a natural sedative.
No, that's it. You're not. He's not talking laxative. He's talking sedative.
There's one called a peace vine cherry tomato that doesn't have any acid in it, so it's non-jittery.
That might be it.
Yeah, and I have those, as a
Non-jittery?
matter of fact. If you had come
You have
to
any of on
if
you?
you had come to the farmer's market, you could have
I'll
bought
come Wednesday.
bushels of
Will
those
it be
things.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Well, I can't buy bushels. I wouldn't eat bushels. I live alone.
Can them, they make great gifts.
God,
Live
right.
alone.
Christmas.
He's Moab's lonely,
Yeah.
Oh,
lonely guy.
shut up.
I can't buy bunches of them. I live alone.
Shut up. It's just a fact. I live by myself. My cat's going
Yeah, but the way.
Oh, shut up.
I can't buy.
Oh,
What do you got? Go get one roll of toilet paper?
Look, you can can them.
I'll tell them.
They make great Christmas
I'll
gifts,
discuss
birthday
it. Yeah.
presents, and what are you guys doing?
Oh, we don't know what this guy wants. We're still trying to figure it out. It's just silliness.
Actually, the reason Jim's here
I've done
is
this.
because he wanted to speak. And look, he's lined it up now.
See, in concentric from big to little. This is how fascinating I found this whole thing. And while Mike's been talking, I've lined up my little spit wads in descending order.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with him, huh?
Good job.
That's the way all of us are.
I mean, you could get a lot of money for this piece right here, you know?
It's, yeah,
Just
yeah, it's sort
The
of
right gallery.
Still life.
the Whitney, you get that in the Whitney, and I tell you.
Listen, you know, I went to the Whitney in April, and there was this one exhibit where a guy had tied together 200 mattresses, hung it from the ceiling, and then
Yes.
threw devil's food cake all over it. It was called Mattresses and Cake.
Wow.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't walk under because there was still cake and icing dripping all over the floor.
I did the
There
same
was-
thing
and
with
then
a
there was a
hooker in
That's not
Tucson.
easy.
And then there was
That's
this
not
hearse
easy.
where a guy, he cut the hearse in half,
Uh-huh.
and then he literally covered every square inch of it, inside and out, with axle grease.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, it was beautiful. I bought it, $20,000. Perfect. It's in my backyard.
It makes complete sense. It's a relevant expression of the 90s.
It is, I guess. Well, so then so is
Sounds like
this.
some
Yeah,
good kinky
exactly.
sex.
Neurotic, compulsive.
Yeah, it's neat
So-
enough.
so-
Okay, thanks for stopping by. Candace.
Thanks for the tomato.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is that a tomato?
Bye.
That's what she said it
Why
was.
didn't it turn red?
Well,
It's not ripe yet.
I don't
That
know.
may just be the way it is.
Sure does feel good.
Oh,
Ah. So,
Mike's
The
talking the
eggs.
egg story.
the egg story. So anyway, so we worked together, or we actually didn't work together. Basically, what this man told me was he didn't want to really listen to any of my shit. Gave me the list of what he wanted. Told me when it was going to be there, and just basically his exact words were just charge us up the ass. And then they also paid me. He wanted me there with the food, so they gave me like $300 a day to be an advisor as well. And so anyway, we get up there and all that stuff, like they don't need this and they don't need that. And one of the things that they asked me to bring was, he said, bring a dozen eggs and we'll just put them on a table. So since I was charging them 50 cents a piece, I brought 30 of them. And so I had this thing of eggs, and they started to set up for the scene, and we put out some food and what have you, and they put out this bowl of eggs. Well, they happened to place it right near where Murray was sitting, and they started to do the scene, and just out of nervousness, and because they were supposed to be eating, but he really didn't want to eat, and especially because this food had been sitting around for hours and probably would have killed him. To kind of handle the eating kind of thing, he started picking up an egg and cracking it and then peeling it as he's saying his lines, which, for those of you who have never watched Mr. Murray on a set, he seems to have a little bit of a problem with his lines. Like, I actually don't really think that he even looks at the script. I think they just do the scene about 20 times and eventually picks up on what's going on. But so he started to do this thing with his egg and like that, and like I'm standing in the back and like these movie guys, basically how at least how my perception of a movie company is there's like 3 or 4 guys that are like in charge, and then everybody else is just like an ass kisser, and like you just don't want to get caught. Like if you were responsible for the eggs, I mean, there better be plenty of eggs, or if you whatever it is somebody told you to do, and that's why there's tremendous amounts of duplication and everything else, because everybody's worried about they're going to be the one that's the finger is going to be pointed at. So anyway, I'm standing back there with some of the people that I'd been doing things with during the course of the day, and all of a sudden this guy looks at me and goes, "You got more eggs?" And I said, "Yeah." So, like they're on about the 15th take and what have you, and every time Bill's doing this and starting to peel this egg. So one of the things that they try to do is when they keep doing these takes and what have you, because they use different parts. Well, you know all that shit. Maybe they don't. Is they try to keep things looking the same and what have you. So what the basic problem was he's cracking these eggs and the eggs are going down and what have you, and so it's looking different. And then at one time he started biting on some of the eggs and the difference between doing these scenes and what have you. So now they've got all 30 of my eggs, and so they still had like probably 10 out there, so I mean 10 ones that weren't cracked and what have you, but they were really starting to worry because they didn't know how long it was going to take him to do this scene. And so they came back to me again. He said, "You got any more eggs?" And I said, "No, man. Why not?" And I said, "Well, you told me to bring a dozen. I brought 30. I said, "So, that's why." And he goes, "Well, what are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, about what?" He says, "Well, he's cracking them and every time." And he says, "Now he's starting to eat them and what have you." And I said, "Well, why don't you just take the eggs that you know, he's cracked and peeled and what have you, and put them on the bottom, and put the ones with the shell on the top, and you know, it'll look the same, and it's, you know, shell's white, eggs white, you know, what do you think, huh? And the guy goes, well, what about these, you know, he's biting them, and I said, well, why don't you just tell him not to bite him? And he goes, well, I couldn't do that. And like, oh, Jesus. Yeah. So I just walked out and walked over to him, and I says, hey, Bill, we're running out of eggs. Will you quit biting them? And he goes, yeah, okay. And I just walked off. I mean, you know, so that's the movies. And that's the egg story. Whoa.
Well told.
At this juncture, after telling it, I can't wait to have grandchildren, so I can like put them up on my knee and what have you.
You won't have to. You can just play the video of this little encounter.
That's true. Are copies going to be available in the lounge? Or what?
The copies will be available.
Yeah, will
Put
it?
it that way.
What are you going to do with this?
Train on public television.
Public television?
Public
Oh,
television.
shit. Here we go. Okay, well, I guess I should clean it up then.
No.
No?
No. Your
It's
job.
okay?
That's not your job.
What is
I've
my
got
job?
I got more clean than you can imagine.
Do you?
I need to dirty it up. Everybody's so, you know, prudish, especially these older people.
Can't say that about our Mikey.
Yep.
Well, it's